You're welcome to take photos, videos, just make sure to take the flash off. We love our retinas here. And si vous voulez poser des questions en français, vous pouvez. Il y a 2 microphones. There's 2 microphones on either side. And we have our lovely volunteers that will help guide you. They're highlighted now. A rabbit. We have a rabbit. I love that. Thank you. Very easy to spot. And then over here, hello. I think that's pretty much it. Are you guys ready to get this going? Your next guest is a legend. You know him from Mandalorian. You know him from Breaking Bad. You know him from The Boys. Please, hide your Grogu's. Welcome to the stage, Mr. Giancarlo Esposito.
Hello, Montreal. We love you. How nice it is to be here today.
Oh, welcome to Montreal. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you, I'm happy to be here. I love this city.
Oh, marvelous. So it is not your first time.
No, it's not.
Oh my, wonderful. Well, we're so fortunate to have you back. I know the fans are dying to talk to you, so I think we might just get right into questions, so that's good.
Why not?
Yes. All right. So we're going to start over here with, is that the Blue Jays? Oh, it's the Expos, much better.
Yeah, right in Montreal. So. Hi, thanks, Lily. By the way, absolutely loved you in The Gentleman. You were the baddest evil there was.
Thank you, I love that show.
Wondering, with your pedigree of all the amazing shows you've done over the years, what's the thing that makes you choose or want to play those roles?
Well, as an actor, I look at a script, and it looks like a bunch of words, but it tells a story. And so most of us as actors or creators, artists, painters, we tell some kind of story, either with our brush or our movement as a dancer. For me, it's the words and the story that's told. And so The Gentleman is a good example. I love Guy Ritchie and I like the movies he does. And this particular movie was a real dark comedy. It was funny yet serious, and the one through line about it that really drew me to it was that it's about a family. And so a family story always appeals to me because it tells sort of the intimacy of what happens within the family and outside of the family. So it's really a good story. And then after that, it's what kind of character I would play within that story. It's sort of like life, you know, when you envision what your life can be, and if you don't have a visionary practice for your life, it might be a good thing to begin one because your thoughts are powerful. And so I always want to read a script and attract the character that fits, that feels right for me. I have a movie out now called Maxine. Yeah, baby. And Mia Goth is absolutely superb in the movie. But Ty West, the director and writer and editor and producer of the movie, is also a superb talent. Well, he brought the film to me and he asked me to play a role, and the role he asked me to play was a decent role. It was probably a larger role than the role I'm playing in the movie, but it didn't feel like it had a perfect fit for me. And so I turned him down. And I said, no, I don't know if this is the right role. And then a week later, he came back to me and he offered me another role. And that role was a challenge. And when you see the movie, Teddy Knight, who plays her manager, is a force of nature. And I thought, there's something I can really do with that. But that was in my vision when I read the script. Not that when I read the script, I was looking for another role to play. It was just that role popped out to me. And I would just be doing the other role to please Ty. Another good analogy for life, you know, you have to do things that please you and that fit with your program. So when you start to invite and initiate a practice of where do I want to be in 10 years, 20 years, how do I see my life, and you visualize that, more than often that visualization comes true.
Thank you so much.
Especially next summer.
Hi there.
Hello. So just like the other question, kind of related to your tremendous filmography, your roles in Mandalorian, Breaking Bad, The Boys, Kaleidoscope also, and you've worked with Spike Lee when you were younger. So throughout the years, which role do you see yourself as the most proud or happy that you have done it, the role, whether it's movie or TV show?
I'll first start by saying that I choose my roles very carefully, so all of them make me happy, and I'm proud of most all of the roles and the characters I've played. I don't like to compare because I feel as if we as human beings I'm in a different moment today than I was yesterday. And I can look back on the roles I've played, and at the time they've come to me in my life and they've grown me somehow. Breaking Bad really taught me to be a better listener because I wanted to create a character that was formidably fierce, but that wasn't formidably fierce with words. He had to listen, he had to observe, he had to leave space in between what was being said. And so I developed a practice of having the ability to train my listening. Today that's difficult when we have many things that catch our attention, including our phones and our computers, and we're expected to multitask and do more than one thing at a time. But to answer your question, I don't create a favorite because I'm in a different place now than I was when I did Do the Right Thing. Certain things that I've done have become iconic and classical, and they've just sat in that space. And I'm really pleased and happy for that, but it's hard to return to that period of time. Outside of my memory, I can clue into a feeling, because I bring a lot of feeling to every role I do. So I really, last year I did a show called Parish, which is on AMC and AMC Plus, that tells a lot. It's very revelatory about me because I produced it, and I put sprinkles of my life in it, a period of time in my life that was very difficult. And you feel that from the character of Gracie and Parish in that particular piece. But I'm one who thinks that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So if you choose something to do, the choice should be correct. It should be right. And so I have a saying that if you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. So put your whole heart and soul into everything you do, and hopefully you love that process of doing it.
All right, thank you very much, Les.
So you did a masterful job as the face and villain of the video game Far Cry 6. And I'm wondering if you have any funny stories about that process or any interesting tidbits from it.
Well, for me, Far Cry 6, I was suspect when they came to me, because after playing Gustavo Fring, a lot of folks want me to repeat that in some other incarnation. And so this dictator felt like he could have some semblance of being a Gustavo Fring character, and I wanted him to be someone completely new on his own. I have a fascination with dictators who feel like their power can move and sway people and rule them against their will. So I was interested in that particular project in particular. But once I got beyond feeling like they wanted me to recreate something I'd already done, I started to get swept up in my fascination of men and women who want to dictate because they feel like they can do it better than anyone else, and they can dictate to their people and have an iron fist rule over them. And so the project was very interesting for me. One of the things that got me to do it was that I had never done a video game, and that motion capture, which is what I did, was the process to capture my image and likeness, and then have wonderful artists transfer that and create that whole person that is Anton Castillo. So I was just really a template. But in doing it, there were a lot of technical obstacles to get around as an actor, because I had equipment. I had a helmet on my head with a bar in the front with cameras that were recording every facial movement I made. I was in a green screen suit with a belt on that carried all of the batteries and equipment that were on me. I had a light from the helmet turned around, shining in my face. So to talk to you, I'm talking through all of this. And so it was a real challenge. But I was interested and fascinated by the whole process, which is why I basically took the job, because it's a process of animating a human being taking his recording, looking at it, and then recreating it as basically a cartoon that came out so alive and so real that it amazed me. So it's a long process that I was really fascinated by, and I really enjoy doing it.
Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Hi, sir. I wanted to ask you. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. I wanted to ask you what exactly was like some of the main inspirations for Gus Fring's personality and mannerisms that we can see like in Breaking Bad and especially Better Call Saul when we get a deeper look at him.
So the word that jumps out at me from what you said is inspiration. I was inspired by the material by Vince Gilligan. I was inspired by one line in particular when I first read the first script that I was asked to do. Guest artist who was supposed to do one episode, and they immediately asked me to do another, and then they offered and one more, and then they offered me a contract which I declined because they were at the end of their second season, and I said, if you still feel the same way when you're beginning next season, then call me, but I don't want to really tie myself up unless you're really committed. But the inspiration came from hiding in plain sight. That was the one line that inspired me. So as an actor, when I'm working, I try not to look at any film or television or see any entertainment whatsoever while I'm working on a character, because I feel like it then it might sway how I play that character. I like to try to be original, and so I encourage myself to just get my inspiration from the material, and then to allow, from a whisper, the words on the page to speak to my soul, so that I could figure out who is this guy. So from that one line, I started thinking about human beings that we see every day, our neighbor across the street, taking the garbage out, taking their kids to school. What do they really do? It looks like that person's a used car salesman or a businessman or a CEO of a company, but who is he or who is she really? And that idea inspired me because I thought, there's a saying that you can't judge a book by its cover. And so you never know what people really do, especially in today's world. And so I created Gus surrounding some of those elements. That he was someone who was very cordial and polite and really was someone who had a great amount of, another great word, integrity. Right? He wanted you to have the best chicken that he could make. He wanted to be very cordial and graceful in the way that he served you in Los Pollos Hermanos. He wanted the place to be clean. All of these things spoke to a certain integrity that he had surrounding everything he did. And so I have a saying that I say as well, how you do anything is how you do everything. And so if you bring the kind of integrity that Gustavo had to running his business, if you bring that high standard, is everything to your satisfaction, he would ask a customer. I find that's an important way to live your life. And so those inspirations were what really inspired me to figure out who Gustavo was and how to create the character from those simple ideas.
In The Mandalorian, what was your favorite scene to perform and why?
Mandalorian was my favorite scene was me coming out my entrance, coming out of the TIE fighter. This whole Mandalorian series had me return to a part of my childhood, wanting to be that hero in a villain's cape, wanting to be a person who says, my character, Moff Gideon, knows everything. Assume I know everything. He has an intelligence network like no other. You wonder how he knows all that he knows. But my favorite scene was that, not only because of the physical challenge of, I was 40 feet in the air, so you feel like a god. I've got a dark saber. When I finally, I was inside a capsule, 40 feet in the air, and I had to kick the door open, come out with my dark saber, look fierce, be a badass. Something about what we get to do in the movies and what we get to do in a television show like Mandalorian is not only have fun, but it gives you the feeling that you're very powerful and you're telling a story that has a certain mythology. Why do we like stories that have great depth and are complicated characters within those stories? With The Mandalorian and the Star Wars stories in general, there's a mythology of storytelling which is designed to teach us how to live, right? To teach us between what's right and wrong and good and evil, and then we can make our choice while we watch a program that's not only entertaining about what we want in our lives. What decision would we make? And so that scene to me was great because it was a great reveal of Moff Gideon. And I certainly had fun with the scenes with Grogu, with Baby Yoda, because Baby Yoda is just too sweet to resist. So thank you.
So, the first time I saw you was actually in the Maze Runner series, the second movie, the Scorch Trials. And ever since I've seen you in a lot of things, and so you have a very wide range. Is there any genre of either a TV show or movie that you haven't done but you really want to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm moving into a place where I want to, while I'm still really mobile and really physical, play some action roles. And so I've kind of begun that process with my show Parish. I'm developing a film called Bygone, which is about a guy who has CTE. He can't remember things, and it comes to him that he is someone other than he thought he was. So I want to play some of those characters. Scorch Trials was a great film for me because based on some great material. 6 books by James Dashner, which are really interesting. Someone in my line, while I've been signing up on the 7th floor, came to me and said, I didn't much like Jorge in the books. He seemed like a bit of a jerk. You're like, girl, okay, when he said this. But when I watched the movie, I really liked the way you played him. And so there was a little bit of adaptability that I could bring to Jorge's role in Maze Runner. But I look to really play characters I haven't played before. Like many people come up to me at my table and say, oh, do you really like playing the bad guy? You always play the bad guy. I don't always play the bad guy. I played some good guys. I had a film Stargirl out a few years ago, and Unpregnant Road Trip where I play a good guy. There are a bunch of things I play good guys in. But I want to play an anti-hero who's under pressure and comes out on top. Why? Because I think that in our world today, that story is not really told so much. We see stories of heroes and people that we want to emulate and be like, which I think is a great thing in an unnatural situation. But when do we see the story about the everyman and every woman who's struggling to raise their family and make ends meet? When do we see them triumph against all odds? And so I want to play characters that are a little bit more, give you an idea and a mirror for who many of us really are. Not everyone lives in the world that I live in. And I'm blessed to be able to be shooting a film every day somewhere on the planet and being in creation. But I attest that our whole lives are creation, no matter what we do. That whatever you do as a vocation is equivalent to what I do. It's just how you see it. It's just how you infuse it with a certain kind of energy. It's just whether or not you love it or not. And so then I say, if you don't love it, change it. Take the time to do the work. So I've done the work. It's been a lot of years. I didn't just appear in television and film. I worked at it. I got small parts and another small part and a part that was a little bigger. And it wasn't until I really realized that I could help create my own future, i.e., I'm a reader, I read books. Why don't I read a book and find a character within a book that I really relate to, and then get the option on that book, and then raise the money to make it, and then go and hire the people to do it and make it. And the day that I produced my first project was when I realized that I had more control over my future than I ever imagined. That I could then cultivate what I love. 4-letter word, W-O-R-K. Sounds like drudgery, work. I gotta go to work. I do a 9 to 5, which is perfectly fine. But do I love that? W-O-R-K. Why do I feel the way I do when I'm dragging myself to something that maybe I don't love anymore? 4-letter word, P-L-A-Y, right? We have children, when they're young, they're completely unjaded, they're in a world of play. The whole world is their playpen. They have a different attitude. We're looking at them going, wow, so much fun to be around you, but I gotta leave now and I gotta go to W-O-R-K. And I gotta leave you while you P-L-A-Y, right? 4-letter word, L-O-V-E. Love what you do, and you never work a day in your life. So for me now, I'm writing a memoir. I have a graphic novel I'm writing that's going to transfer into being a film. And I've just got the rights to another book, which is going to be in the horror genre. This is all related to your question. Because, no, it is. Because you asked me, what do I want to do? Well, I had a little film called Abigail that came out a few months ago with A24. It's a great movie. It's a horror movie. I have a small part in it in the beginning, middle, and end. And I thought, oh, this is an interesting genre. Why don't I find something that I could develop, that I could be in, that could express how much I enjoyed the horror movies when I was a kid? And so I'm developing that. So take control of your lives, no matter what you do. Does not matter. If you don't love it, change it. If you love it, stay with it. If you feel like you can't control it or uplift it, then start something on your own, because each and every person in this room has an original idea about whatever it is they do. And those ideas should be shared. And those ideas, if they are shared, can change the world.
Hi Giancarlo, my name is Oscar.
Hi, Oscar.
I really enjoy the role that you played, that I feel like people don't appreciate as much as they should. But it's from a video game, Payday 2, and you played the role as the dentist. And I wanted to know, how did you come across that role?
I got a phone call. It was back in the time where I wasn't really, I needed some work. I lived in Connecticut, I was going broke, I had 4 kids. And I got a phone call to do this, video game, and it was one day, and I said, why one day? Why not 5, 6 days? But I read it, and I couldn't stop thinking about a film that Laurence Olivier did called Marathon Man, where he played a dentist. And I thought, oh, it was Dustin Hoffman and Laurence Olivier, an old and very famous, he's passed away now, but British actor. And so they called me, and they sent me the scene that I was to do, and I loved it, and that's how I did that. I'm glad you liked it.
Hi, in the mid-80s you did a couple episodes of Miami Vice, and you worked with Abel Ferrara for the first time, I think. What was your experience working on the show, if you have any stories?
Who was the name you mentioned?
Miami Vice and Abel Ferrara.
Oh yes, yeah, Abel Ferrara. I just came across his picture. I saw him a few weeks ago in Cannes. I have a new movie that opened there with Francis Ford Coppola called Megalopolis, which you should all see. I love Miami Vice. It was a very particular series. It really reflected the 80s sensibilities. I think I did 4 of them. Don Johnson really took a liking to me, and John Nicolella, who was his producer, really loved me. And I think I played 4 different characters in 4 different episodes of Miami Vice. That was a time where, and so that's a great example of being versatile, not only in your life, but in your consciousness. Normally, and I think I died at least 3 of those 4 times on Miami Vice. So they kept bringing me back. And that is a tribute to, to being good at what you do, and at that time I knew I was good at what I did, but I still was developing a way of doing it. And I think part of that is developing confidence. You know, how do you develop the confidence enough to know that, you know, you're going to be able to hold an audience's attention and you'll be able to be exciting as a character. And so I love Miami Vice because it taught me how to do that. It taught me how to take the stage and not be tentative. It taught me how to make mistakes, and that's okay. It taught me how to, I mean, we live today in a society of immediacy. You're supposed to have the answer, and if you don't, you're supposed to pause and say, wait a minute, Google, wait a minute, Google, right? I mean, that's what you're supposed to do, because we're so uncomfortable with a space and time where we go, I don't know the answer to that question. Let me think about it, right? We don't leave ourselves enough time to be thoughtful. We're in a rush, not only to do 2 things at once, but maybe 3 things at once. So we're never really grounded in our own spirits. We hardly have time to breathe, or leave ourselves time to breathe. And then we blame things on the they who wouldn't let us have enough time. But you see, you're responsible for your energy. We're 90% water, we're electrical beings, which is why we like to refer to this, because it's electric. It gives us a charge. You may not feel it, realize it, but it's an energetic charge we get from that. It's an energetic charge that I get from this. It's electric. Dig me now, this is true science. So you're getting fired up because you have a spark somewhere near you. And so Miami Vice taught me how to ground myself, play different characters each time, develop the confidence to be able to believe myself. See, as an actor, if I believe it, then you're going to believe it. If you see a chink in my armor and I say a line and it's not quite blending with all of my energetic being, you're going to feel it. If I'm not all in, right, you can tell. If I'm not truly committed to the words I'm saying, you're not going to believe me. And my job is to take you from one place to another, to change the feeling that's inside of you. Right? How many people come up to me and say, Gus Spring scared the out of me? Right? Well, that's what my gig was. That was my job. That's what I needed to do. That's who that guy is. You meet people like this in life, who have very few words and look you in the eye and you can't hold their glance because they're scary. And so, to be truthful and honest, and their performances that are real for me, I do this with every job I take. Miami Vice helped me cut my teeth, be in the woodshed, allow myself to really learn how to command my energy through the camera to you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Phil.
Hi, Peter.
Phil.
Here.
Phil. Okay, Phil, that's how we pronounce it.
Oh, Phil. Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, I
You got 2 names?
No.
Phil.
It's an honor to meet you, Mr. Esposito.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, bienvenue chez nous. And you know that it's not every day we meet an American actor, and you know it counts something. However, let's start with the subject. It's about your character, Moff Gideon. The thing is, of course, it's something to do with the wiki fandom. So you know the point is that there is many subjects on many characters sometimes, and that because I don't want to make the debate, but I wanted to understand your point of view at least. It's about your character. Just at the end, perhaps in season 1, he was really like you describe it. I even saw the video, the Emmy video about the behind the scenes. I see it. The point is that after season 1, at the end, you became pure evil at the end. I know it's of course, we understand your character. He has good intentions. He wants to bring an empire because he believes it brings peace to the galaxy. That's true. But if I understand the point of view, I think his actions, out in English. Do you have a traducteur or something like that? If I say the word in French?
Say it in French. Translate.
Okay. Ça a dépassé, ses actions ont dépassé ses raisons là.
Okay, so he passed his actions to get his goals. Did I get that?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. What's your point of view?
You have something I want. I have a whole philosophy about Moff Gideon because I do a great length of homework and thinking around someone like him. And I feel like he is so what is the flip side of a hero? The flip side of a hero is a fallen hero. Someone who wants to do good, bring the galaxy back together. However, no one is listening to him. And if you're not listening to me, I have to make you listen to me. Force you to listen to me. And then I become more and more enamored with the words I'm saying and the power that I have because you start to listen. And then if I'm trying to explain something that I can make all of this better and you're not accepting that, as Moff Gideon is in that place. He has all the chess pieces in play. However, he still can't put it together. So then he takes it. And so he becomes bigger than his idea. And so you're onto it. That's exactly what my performance was trying to reflect.
So just this case reminds me of, I don't know if you know the TV series, but there is the main antagonist of The Owl House, Emperor Bells. He's a bit like that. A character who has good intentions, but which his intentions is no longer a reason for his actions.
Yes, it changed somewhere along the line. If you can see that change in the story, it can be reflected back to all of us. How many times have you had good intentions to do something and someone's misunderstood you?
It became pure evil at the end, which he never wanted to be, but at the end, that's how it ended.
At the end, if your intention goes sour, you're done. Thank you so much.
We'll go to the next question.
Hi. I recently learned you were in the 1981 production of Merrily We Roll Along, and I was wondering if you could talk about that and talk about working with Stephen Sondheim.
I love Stephen Sondheim. He was a genius artist. The production was terribly flawed, sadly. Stephen wrote the music, George Firth wrote the book, Hal Prince was the director, and it's very much reflected, their relationship is is reflected in the story of Merrily We Roll Along. It's a story that's told backwards about three friends who make it in show business. But it's told backwards from the point of view of where they've been famous, and it goes backwards to see what they lost in their journey to get to that fame. And so the original production was a heartbreaker because we felt like it could really work, and it didn't, sadly. Through the changes that were made when we rehearsed it and we were previewing it, it just didn't feel like it coalesced. And it was a sad heartbreak for many. The show, I think, broke a lot of actors who were in it. At that period of time in my life, I was a seasoned actor by then. And I was in my early 20s, and I had done a lot of work. And I felt like a lot of the cast were very young cast members who had not had the experience of success. So when you have experience of success, it leaves you with a good taste in your mouth, no matter what it is you're doing. And which is why when you start by complimenting someone by what works in their work or about their life, it's always a good place to start. Tell me what works before you start to tell them what doesn't work. So a lot of the cast members for that didn't go much further. Our first lead, James Weisenbach, dropped out of show business, became an agent. Many people have tried to recapture the magic of Merrily because that experience destroyed them, depressed them, and there was a traumatic one for many of us. So it was difficult. Most recently, I went to see the production that's on Broadway now, that's closing in a couple of weeks with my youngest daughter, and it works. This production really worked. And I was really happy to see the play succeed. Stephen Sondheim was brilliant to work with. He was someone who could, create a song off the cuff. He could rewrite the songs he had already written to fit what was necessary in having the songs link up with the dialogue. It's a play about dreams, achieving your dreams, and I think that is a beautiful message for people, because sometimes we lose sight of our dreams, either by failure or even through success, right? We get everything we want, and we dreamed that it would make us happy, or we dreamed that it would change our lives in a way that we had hoped, and it doesn't. Because happiness is a choice. It's a choice we make whether you're successful or whether you're not. The dream and the hope that you will be original, truthful, honest to who you are is more important than any monetary success you could ever have. So the musical was really great then, and it's great now. We just weren't able to have people see it and praise it as being great then. And I'm glad it's having some success now.
Hey there. Hello. I just wanted to ask you, stepping into such a big franchise as Star Wars, was it intimidating for you, or did it just fit like a glove when you came in?
It wasn't intimidating. I got a call from Jon Favreau, who invited me, and he called me and said, I wrote a role for you. So in a way it's intimidating, because if someone writes a role for you, then you have to live up to their expectations of what you're going to do with that role, right? So it's like, are you ready to walk through the door when the door opens? It's the same thing with success and failure. There's a conscious fear of not being able to deliver, right? This fear of failure. And there's an equivalent fear of the fear of success. Why? If you're successful and you're working every day, you have to show up. You got to know your lines. You got to know the scene. You got to know where you're coming from, where you're going to. All this stuff that you have to know. It could be a blessing in disguise, because it could be pressure. But if you love it, then all of those pieces that it takes to put that role together are interesting to you. And you want to know that, right? You want to be completely fortified with all the information you need to know to perform it beautifully. So in a way, it was a little intimidating, because it's a galaxy. It's not just one show, Mandalorian, and these guys are brilliant. David Filoni and Jon Favreau. Filoni being the brain trust of all the Star Wars, Ashoka, Mandalorian, everything. He's incredible. Yeah, so it was probably a little sprinkling of both anticipation and being a little intimidated. But how do you feel if you're in a room with someone who's way smarter than you about the subject that you're being asked to appear in? How does that make you feel? Right? You do two things. You shrink. You nervously talk about how much you think you know, or you listen. Right? I love being in a room with people who are smarter than I am. Listen.